Hello again. In this video we will discuss understanding 16th note strumming patterns. So if you don't have a basic knowledge of strumming patterns and counting them out, this is not the video for you, okay? So I would tell you to not watch this one. If you can play a bit already, you know some strumming patterns and you're pretty decent with changing chords, then keep watching. So 16th note strumming patterns, I like to think of them as they're kind of twice as fast as your usual patterns that you would be used to. So if you have a look at the diagram here, it might look intimidating at first, but please don't get too worried about that. I'm going to break it all down. Basically, there's more downs and ups going on within one bar of music now. If you will, when you're used to playing through songs, you might have two bars of music with one pattern here and another pattern there, the same pattern. So with 16ths, you can kind of think of it as bunched into the one bar, okay? It's not exactly as simple as that, but that gives you an idea of what's happening. Essentially, you're playing a bit faster within the same bar of music. So most of our music is in something called 4/4 time, and that would mean that you would tap your foot in beats of 4 before a bar has ended. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So each of those beats in the bar, in this case, we're now going to subdivide them by 4 little bits equally. So 4 groups of 4 now, and that's where the word 16th note strumming comes from. Okay, so on each beat, on beat 1, 2, 3, and 4, you've got to do 4 motions. Okay, and I'm going to break down how you do that. So let's hold down an E chord, and I'm going to break down this pattern that we've got. So you've got to count in a certain way, and it does sound a bit silly and funny at first. It's 1 E and A, that's the first group of 4, then 2 E and A, that's the second group, then 3 E and A, that's the third group, then the fourth group is 4 E and A. So you'll notice a bit of a pattern developing there. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Okay? Now, in this case, all the physical downstrokes that you do are occurring on the numbers. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the ands. Okay? So all the downstrokes come in on those syllables. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and all the ands in between, you're physically doing downs. On the E's and A's, that's where the ups come in. Okay, so that's not too hard to remember once you get that down. So that's the first thing to understand, okay? If you don't understand that, go back and listen to what I said again. The E's and A's are where the ups come in. So try and do this along with me, and I want you to count it out loud. After 4. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. And I want you to sit and do that and count it over and over again. And you're trying to match the syllables of the words you're saying up with the downs and ups that you're physically doing with your arm. Okay? That's really important. You've got to train yourself to count and do it out loud as you play these things, okay? Play the pattern, try and line the syllables up with the words, with the downs and ups that you're doing. Now then, let's show you some examples here of just parts from songs that I'm going to choose to show you this in like a real musical context. So I'll take a Stereophonics song here called Indian Summer. The chords and stuff is not too complicated in this song, but it has 16th note strumming in it. So I'll play it here, and then we're going to look at how we would count it. So remembering before, I said all the numbers and ands will be where the downstrokes are, and all the E's and A's are where the ups are going to come in. So when you look at this pattern here, a tip I want you to think of is look for symmetry. Does it look like that's the same pattern twice in the same bar? It is. Okay, so physically that's going to be easier to do than like two separate patterns within the bar, really. And then what we've got to do is try and get our head around this counting. And what I urge you to do, from my own experience of learning this stuff and teaching it to lots of people, count these things out even if you don't fully understand them yet. Just get used to the act of counting them out, okay? So I'm going to give you all the counting for all these examples and just count it out anyway, even if you don't fully understand it yet. You've got to get stuck into this at first. So the pattern we're going to do here is 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. Now it's just down, 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 up twice in the bar. So the physical act of doing it isn't too hard, but I want you to count that out, okay? 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. And keep that going. And you have to count this out, okay? So let's hold down an A minor chord together and you just try and play along with me and count it out. After 4. Now what you might find helps here is accent the first down of each little group of the pattern that you're doing. Make that down a bit louder and you can put a bit more emphasis into it. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. You know, something like that, just to tell the brain and the arm that it's resetting. Okay. Now then, we're going to play the progression here. So all I want you to do now is just try and play along with me, okay? So we've got A minor, F, just do whatever F you know, C, and G. And we're going to do this pattern on all those chords, okay? But remember, this is 16th note strumming, so make sure you're kind of doubling the pattern as we've counted out there. Alright, so try and play along with me after 4. Next example, this is Save Tonight by Eagle Eye Cherry, and this is one of those songs that just uses this same progression over and over. So it's the same chords as what we were doing before, by the way. A minor, F, C, and G. Okay, The pattern will be different this time, so let's examine it, and we're going to work out how to count it and then what to do. So look for symmetry. Does that look like the same pattern twice? That's the case, okay? It's one pattern but just played twice within the same bar of music, okay? So it's important to keep that in mind, okay, to make this less complicated than it might look at first. So keep your eyes out for symmetry. So physically, we're going to do this. Down, up, down, 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 up, twice in the bar. So that would be one bar there. Now, in this case, you've got a change chord as well after each pattern. A minor, F, C and G. Okay, so the changing's a bit quicker here than the previous example. So let's count it out. And remember, try and do this out loud. 1E and 2 and 3E and 4 and I know it might seem a bit silly, but you've really got to do this. So that's 1E and 2 and 3E and 4 and as you're starting to examine these examples, the way I find it's easier to remember is always refer back to that original pattern at the start. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and where the arm's just constantly moving. So what we're doing here essentially as we go on is removing downs and ups in certain places, and that's where strumming patterns from common songs that you'll hear come from. They're based on that original pattern, but there's just downs and up missing, you know, to give it more interest than just the arm doing this all the time. So visually try and compare this example back to the original example, see what's missing. So you've got your first group, 1E and a, second group, 2E and a, third group, 3E and a, fourth group, 4E and a. And all the patterns we're doing here are going to be derivatives of that. So let's try this pattern just on an A minor, okay? So it's 1E and 2 and a, and then 3E and 4 and a. Okay, that's what we're doing. But just keep doing it over and over again. Then let's put a chord change in. We'll just do A minor to F now, and we'll keep repeating that. Now let's try the full example together, okay? So you just do your best to play along with me, and if you can, try and count this out as you go, okay? You might not be able to do that at first, so you might have to do that on your own for a while, but then come back to this, try and play along with me. And just one more thing about this song, it's very fast. So essentially, like, I'd have to kind of double the speed I'm doing there to bring it up to speed with the song. So don't worry about doing it this fast yet, but just so you know, the song will be more at this kind of speed now. On to another example, we'll do Sweet Home Alabama here. Now, this only uses 3 chords for this example, and this takes up most of the song, by the way. We've got a D, this version of C add 9, and then the big 4-fingered G. So you'll notice these guys working in tandem. Just make sure you get those chord shapes down, okay? D, C add 9. And G. Then let me play it and we'll break it down after that. Okay, so let's work out what's going on here. Again, we'll look for symmetry, so it looks like it's just the same pattern played twice in the bar, which is nice. Then physically, all we're doing is down, 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 up. Not overly complicated. Okay. Now, I want you to pay attention to something there. When the arm's not making contact with the string, it's still moving like a pendulum or like a metronome. So it's not stopping and hesitating, okay? It keeps going. So there's a big gap there between 1 and 2 where we're not doing anything, but you have to leave the correct amount of space for this song to actually sound like the song itself. So try and keep the arm moving during that period, even when it's not making contact with the strings. So in this case, we'll count the pattern as 1, 2 and a 3, 4 and a 1, 2 and a 3, 4 and a. Okay. Now just to make this a bit simpler, the G actually doesn't have a chord change mid-bar, so just hold down the G for me and try the pattern with me on this chord, okay? So after 4, there we go. Then let's try it on the D to C add 9, okay? And just repeat that bit. And now let's put it together. So I'm just going to play it for a wee minute here, and then you see if you can play along with me. And keep remembering to try and count this out loud, okay? So if you have to work on that on your own for a while, that's totally fine. Then come back to this and see if you can play along with me. On to our next example, so we'll take Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Now this is like the verses, the main part in the song, and there's not a lot of obvious guitar in this, it's more synth based, but we can do a nice acoustic strumming version along to it. And what you'll find here, and you'll hear from this, is it works with the pulse of the song. It's going to sound in time when we do it with 16th notes. So this example is 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. So let's choke off the strings and just try that. So it's basically just down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Twice. So let's hold down a B minor, just whatever version of B minor you know. There's the bar chord, and there's like the 4-fingered one across 4 strings. Just go with what you know, and just try and play along with me here. And then we're going to try this example here. So you can come back and play along with this if you want. You can practice tons on your own without me anyway. But if you're ready to try this, you can try it along with me now. So after 4. And you may have noticed there, one of the bars is essentially cut in half. There's a G to E minor in the same bar, but just look for your symmetry again. It's just the bar cut in half. So it's the pattern once, and then again, you've just got to do a G to an E minor chord change in there. Next example, Zombie by the Cranberries. This is like an acoustic version of the song. So we've got E minor, C major 7, G6, which will sound a bit strange on its own. Just take that shape and move it down a string. And then this chord, E minor 11 / F sharp, which you don't have to worry about the name there. It's just this. You're just getting that note in the bass. And that's how the song will go chords wise. So let's look at the strumming, what it does in terms of downs and ups first. So let's choke off the strings and we'll see what downs and ups we have to do. So it's down, 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 up, up, down, down, up, down, up. Now, I know that may seem difficult and intimidating to visualize and remember. So choking off the strings and trying to hear it percussively will certainly help with that. Do that before you worry about getting the chord changes in. So tap out the rhythm on your leg like this for me. 1 and 2 and A, E and 4 E and A. Now keep doing that. That'll help you better understand what it's supposed to sound like before you get kind of mixed up with your downs and ups. So any strumming pattern, you can just tap out like that. So let's see how we would count this. Now this might get a bit difficult, but like I said earlier, count it anyway, even if you don't fully understand it yet. And refer back to the original example where it's just constant down up strumming. Okay, so if we look at the example I've given you, it's 1 and 2 and a, E and 4 E and a. Okay, 1 and 2 and a, E and 4 E and a. And you've got to keep that going. And trust me, if you don't fully understand that yet, it will come if you keep working on the counting. Now I have this in a sheet in front of me, but you know, sometimes I'm surprised I can remember all these, because you just develop your internal sense of timing better by doing this. And you'll just be able to rhyme off the rhythm like that, because you're so used to doing it. So hold down an E minor chord and see if you can just do the rhythm on that chord with me. So let's do a play along here. So if you're not ready for this, don't worry, you can come back. But if you are, let's have a go together. Next example, this is Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi, and this is the big, loud, epic chorus in the song. Now, the pattern maybe isn't as complex as the last one, but we're going to go through all the same process and fundamentals. And again, try and tap it out on your knee if you're not too sure of it. So let's see what this strumming pattern would be then. 1 and a 2 and a, E and 4 E and a, 1 and a 2 and a, E and 4 E and a. So hold down G chord and see if you can do that with me, just on the G. And then see if you can play along with me with the full example here. One more example, so this is Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis. So let me play it to you first and then we'll go back and see if we can break it down. recognize the first pattern in the song on the C and F major 7. So just a normal C chord and F major 7, I'm using that one. And the pattern here, 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. So that'll give you the pulse of the song. Now that just continues, but you will notice in the last bit of this example, there's a little bit of a quick change. So you have 3 chords in 1 bar. So I'll do that slowly. So if we count that out, that's 1 and 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So we've got to put just one quick flourish in there. So that's 3 and a, 4 and a. Okay, we'll do it one more time, so I'll play through the full example and you can see if you can join me. There we go, so that's 16th note strumming. Now this takes some time to be able to physically do and understand the theory behind it, so what I would say is just be patient with this. Just try and take in what you can, don't worry about fully understanding everything just yet, and keep that counting going, okay? You've got to implement that before it's going to get stuck into your playing.